Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Raven who is also Brooke, and in today's video, I will be doing a character analysis on the character Carrie Bradshaw from the show Sex and the City. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to follow me on all my social media platforms, and remember that this is my opinion.
That's my opinion!
Nothing in this video I'm saying is facts, so please don't take it as such, and let's just get right into the video. So I first started watching Sex and the City when I was 22, and I remember exactly when I watched it. It was like October 2023 because I was sick for like a whole week and I was still in school. It's my last semester and I watched it for the first time. And watching it the first time, I thought Carrie was a dumbass, especially when it came to Big. And while I was just going through, because I've seen Sex and the City 4 times now in the past almost 2 years, and the most recent time was about like a month and a half ago. I finished it for the 4th time. And I just feel like when I first watched it, I thought Carrie was a dumbass. And then when I when I go to my 4th time watching it, I'm like, so she's still dumb and delusional, but also what I'm going to keep reiterating throughout, just talking about her in each season, just doing a deeper analysis into her specifically. It's like, she's actually a very accomplished person. But, let me just get into the seasons. Let me not spoil it for how I feel. Let me get into the seasons and let's get into season 1. Season one to me is one of the most interesting seasons, mainly because of like the cinematography and just how they formatted the show. I really liked how they would talk to like random people in New York to get their opinions about whatever Carrie was talking about in her column that week. I thought that was really cool. And I kind of did dislike that they took that away as the seasons went on, but it didn't really take anything away from the show per se. Now, in the first episode, we first meet Carrie when she is just walking around New York talking about her job and talking about men. And the first interaction that we have where we kind of get to know Carrie more as a person and trying to get an understanding involves a guy. And I will say, yes, Sex and the City is supposed to be about men, dealing with men, how men can impact your life. But I feel like this show could have done more with delving into more of them being a career woman, because I do think the show is supposed to be about women's empowerment also. And something again that I'm going to keep saying is I wish they would have shined more light on Carrie and her career and made that more of a focal point and more of a happy point in her life, and we saw more of that. So her first interaction with the guy is a guy that she used to hook up with, and she's with her friend Stanford. And Stanford is really telling her, like, do not talk to him because apparently he really did her, like, because apparently he was really to her. And then Stanford is like, girl, do not do it. But she ends up going up to him and talking to him because on that episode, she was trying to see what it's like to be a man and basically have sex like a man would have sex. And basically, she kind of is very like nonchalant about it at the end of it all. She's like, okay, I'm gonna talk to you next week, whatever, cool, bye. And as she's walking out the building, that's when we first are introduced to Big. And when she bumps into him, a bunch of condoms just fall out her purse. And someone said something interesting on Twitter. They were like, Big probably never took her seriously from the beginning because he saw that a bunch of condoms fell out her purse. And as shit as that sounds, that it makes sense considering how Big is towards her throughout the show and even in the movies. Because it's almost like he really just never took her seriously or ever considered her a very valuable person to have in his life. And then pretty much season 1 is really just Big and Carrie, and having to watch that whole toxic ass dynamic was very annoying to watch, but it was also entertaining. And it was also interesting to see how Carrie would respond to situations that he would do, because it's very clear that Big just did not see her in the way that she saw him. She definitely saw him as as an endgame, I guess you can say, because at the start of the show, she is 32. So I do think that she saw him as a potential endgame in life, someone that she will marry, etc., etc. And Big just kind of saw her as someone fun and someone who is just there. And again, that sounds so awful to say, but he really just did not value her as a person. And again, it's very kind of sad to watch. And with seeing how Big treats her and how she always makes excuses for him, we do see that Carrie does kind of suffer from some type of self-esteem issues, because how can you just see Big disregard you in so many situations that you don't even take a minute to reconsider being with him for the fact that he's not treating you how you should be treated? Like, for example, there is an episode where they're out after their first date. He took her to like this Chinese restaurant, and she's noticing that there are quote unquote odd couples there, but then she runs into a friend who's also with the woman. Because when she saw the friend, he was acting like he didn't want to be seen. And then even when he was trying to introduce the date that he was with, he just was not trying to admit basically that he is with her on a date, not trying to introduce her name, nothing. So when they talk about it, he's like, yeah, I don't really like her the most. Like, she's not the most attractive to me. So I take her to this Chinese restaurant where I won't be seen with anyone that I know because I'm basically ashamed to be with her, but I do really like her behind the scenes. Carrie starts to get very insecure with Big because she also noticed that when they ran into one of his friends, he did not introduce her. It was very awkward. If it was me at 32, because I'm trying not to pass judgment because I've also been a dumbass with guys, I feel like a girl has at least had a dumbass moment, whether it's the biggest or the smallest. You've had one dumbass moment once in your life with a guy, but it's just like, if I'm 32 years old and I'm still dealing with men who just are just blatantly acting uninterested, it's just like, why am I here? So basically, there's also an incident where she and her friends were out at a restaurant. And mind you, at this point, she hadn't seen her friends in a good minute because she herself said that she has felt like she's in a little cocoon with Big. They're the only people in New York, etc., etc. So while she's out with her friends, she sees that Big is on a date, basically. And she basically has to, like, almost force him to like be mutually exclusive with her. And even when she was proposing that idea, she didn't say, oh, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend. She just like, can you just stand still with me? And the look on his face was just like, okay. I even think that he truly understood what she was trying to say. And I think the show was trying to set it up. It's like, oh, they have their own little lingo together, their own little love language together. But I'm like, no, that just looked kind of desperate. You couldn't even blatantly say it. You had to use it in a metaphor. And then throughout the season, we really don't know much about Carrie's career per se. I want to express throughout this video, I am going to be talking about Big a lot because Big is just such, like, his character is tethered to her character in terms of character development to me. He is such a big part of her life throughout the show. It's hard not to mention him whenever you're having an analysis of her, because the way I feel like we see her personality for real and really get to understand her as a person is only with her friends and with men, mainly Big, because Big is the man that she was dealing with for the longest on the show. So Big is going to come up a lot. I'm sorry, but I feel like their characters are basically tethered to each other in a way. And then also through the season, I learned that Carrie, so there is an incident where she finds out that Big was married, and she ends up tracking down who the woman was because she also found out that he had a threesome. So she tracks down who the woman is and then pretends that she wants a publishing deal to write a book, and she gets to know her, and the woman reveals that Big cheated on her with her best friend. In that instance, it's also interesting because, well, if I found out that a man that I was seeing was married in the past, he didn't tell me, would I want to know more about the wife? Yes. Would I actually do something where I'm like intruding in her life and integrating myself in her life? No. Mind you, they only have been dating for like a couple of months at that point. I'm gonna guess maybe like 2 or 3 months. And again, it's nothing wrong with wanting to know more about his ex-wife that he just never mentioned, but to actually integrate yourself in her life is a whole nother level. And again, when it comes to Carrie, it showed us that she has some type of low self-esteem, in my opinion. No person is going to do that if you're not secure in that relationship. Again, yes, he lied, but the lengths you went just showed that you're really not secure with him. You're not secure that he really does love you for you. Now, as a friend, I will definitely say that Carrie in season 1, she's relatively okay. She doesn't do anything that kind of makes you side her, in my opinion. I do feel like she could listen to her friends more and really try to understand their problems. I do understand that she does get inspiration from her column from her friends, so of course she does listen. But sometimes it feels like she's more just listening to hurry up and talk about her than trying to actually listen to understand and to help come with a solution. But she's not relatively a bad friend in season 1, I feel like. So at the end of this season, that is when she's walking one day and then she sees that Big is at church with his mom. And so then again, why she does these out of pocket things for Big, I don't know. But basically, she like sneaks in the church with Miranda, but then she ends up dropping a Bible from like the top floor. So obviously Big knows she's there now. And then when she goes to introduce herself to Big's mother, she notices that Big's mother doesn't know anything about her, and then she feels very struck by it. It feels very much like, why can't Big just integrate me into his life? Why do I feel like such a secret? And again, if these reoccurring things just keep happening throughout your time with him, why isn't that making you more want to run away than again do these very outlandish things to already try to find an answer that you already know the answer to? He acts the way that he acts towards you. And sometimes it feels like she's almost there to getting the point that Big does not want her the way that she wants him. But you can kind of see the wheels turning in her head where she kind of just makes an excuse, because I do feel like that feeling of rejection from Big would hurt because of course she loved him. So basically he invites her to go out the country, but then she kind of has a breakdown. They're about to go into the car to go to the country because she's like, you know, you don't introduce me to anyone in your life. You really don't act like you want to be with me. It just feels like I'm here to be here and not really here because you love me and you want to be with me. So they break up. By the end of season 1, do I feel like Carrie is a dumbass? Yes. Do I feel like she can be delusional? Yes. But I do see a lot of people are very, 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 very harsh to her, and I absolutely understand why, especially when we get to season 3. But if we're going to talk about Carrie season 1, you can't help but feel kind of bad, because it's like, damn, she did love this man, but unfortunately this man just it's basically just simple. This man was not into her like she was into him, and it landed her in a place where I feel like it made her into a very insecure person when she's very beautiful. Also in season 1, I began to pick up that basically Carrie is like a fashion icon. She loves fashion. She loves shoes above anything else. Like, she would go broke, not pay her rent for some shoes. But going back to just looking at Carrie season 1, you just can't help but feel bad for her and be like, damn, I kind of want Carrie to actually be in love with someone who actually loves her. Because in my opinion, season 1 should have been in the Big. Like, that should have been the end of the Big storyline. Let it go. Let it be. So season 2 starts off with her in a funk because her and Big broke up. So her friends make her go to a baseball game. And at this baseball game, she ends up catching the ball from like a famous rookie player. When they go, like, they're back in the locker room to try to get an autograph, she gets the autograph, but she also asks him out. And I'm like, okay, like, she's getting over Big. She got her a little rookie baseball player, and baseball players got money. He seemed very nice. I'm like, okay, we're getting over Big. We're getting over it. But when they end up going out, she actually runs into Big. And then damn near passes out when he touches her shoulder. And then ends up freaking out on this baseball player and basically telling him, like, you know, that was my ex and I'm really not over him. So maybe this isn't a good idea. And I'm just like, what voodoo does Big have in her life? And I, again, absolutely understand you sometimes, some people in life, I'm not saying all, I'm not putting this on all women. Some people, not even women, people. I'm not putting this on every person on earth. I am speaking for me, Raven Alsobrook. I absolutely understand that sometimes there can be that one person in your life that you cannot let go of, even though you know they are for you. But it's almost like when you just finally let go of that person and then you let the dust settle and you really start to think, you're like, wait a minute. And because one thing I learned about life is hindsight is such a bitch, because hindsight will make you realize that this person really was not and was not worth me damn near having mental breakdowns over, crying, questioning whether you will ever feel love in life. So then she does begin to try to date around different people, but then she kind of dates like a bunch of losers. Like, she ended up dating this one young guy who was just like a gross ass person to like have to be in their space with, because just Ew. So then a few episodes later, she ends up calling Big to catch up, and then next thing you know, they are back together. Mind you, I have said that Big should have been gone after season 1. There was no purpose. Because it would be different if he at least showed some good qualities. Like, it would be different if he was one of those characters where it's like, he's a shitty person, but you see good qualities. He just has, like, quote unquote, demons holding him back. But it just seemed like Big was just, bottom line, a shitty person. Truly. And then it's like when they end up together, he is still basically the same person that he was before. Like nothing changed. Like she ended up standing up Miranda because he was cooking some funky ass veal. I'm like, you stood up your friend for a man that you literally had to damn near beg just last season to be with you? Okay. So again, like I said, he's still the most crappy person in the world. One time she was working on a wedding speech and he was acting like he didn't care about the speech. And then he literally almost freaked out because she signed both of their names on the card. And he's like, well, why would you sign my name? Like, they're your friends. Like, why are you doing all that? And I'm like, but if y'all are together, what's the issue? I really don't see how Carrie just ended up continuously being with this man at 32 years old when he was acting like they're dating and they're in goddamn college. Like, why? I just don't understand why. Why? She damn near had to trick this man into letting her leave stuff at his place. Cause like he literally showed up at her place she's thinking, oh, he has a gift, and in the bag it's just her stuff that was trying to return. Cause also he never spent the night at her house. Like they almost fought over her not having a key because I guess she was waiting for like a really long ass time. The signs have been glaring at you for almost a year and a half at this point. I don't know what else to tell you, friend. And then I feel like also this season, again, we see the traits of Carrie where she can be very delusional. So this man gives you a pink toothbrush and all of a sudden he really does love you. This man keeps a picture of you guys in his drawer. Not even in a picture frame in his house. If I saw that a man was keeping a picture of us in his drawer, I'm not going to think, oh, he's loving me like his own special way. I'm literally going to think like this. He's hiding me from someone. I'm freaking out because I don't like this. I'm not going to think of it as an all moment. And again, I understand because Big is a closed off person that you saw as an all moment. But we're going to get to that later in the season. We see the delusion, how delusional and almost like in a fantasy world she can live in sometimes. And again, if we're talking about Carrie as a friend in season 2, again, she's a relatively okay friend, but then I kind of begin to come to the conclusion a little bit that, again, she's kind of one of those friends where she's not really listening to you to understand. She's just listening and then to talk about her issues. I don't feel like she's what's the word? I don't feel like she's a self-indulgent person. Is that the word? Well, that's gonna be the word today. Like, I don't feel like she's a self-indulgent person and she's just this hard-ass selfish person, but she definitely has selfish tendencies. But it's like when it comes to Big, she just wants to be the most selfless person, but mainly to just get some basic ass bare minimum affection and bare minimum respect. And then another thing is that he would literally check out women while he is with her. And again, I hate that Carrie's character is so tethered to Big. But again, the only time we see her real personality and really try to get to understand her as a person is when she's doing these dumbass things and making these dumbass decisions. And they just are all with Big and they all correlate with Big. And after that, it's like he's checking out other women while with you. Why aren't you breaking up with, like, why is she someone that makes excuses for him? So they end up breaking up in the middle of the season because Big has to go to Paris. And when she was trying to like come up with solutions on how they can work in Paris, he was not trying to have no long distance relationship with her. When she was proposing about just maybe coming to Paris for a year and working on stuff, he was like, well, don't do anything that's too permanent in your life. And again, it's like she even said it. I mean, he never really factored her in her life because he never saw her as anything valuable, as anyone valuable in her life, I should say, not anything. Like, he never really saw her as a person, just more as someone to be there. And, you know, they do end up breaking up, but it's just, You want to feel bad for Carrie so bad, but then it's like you keep just going back to someone who is in your face, blaring at you, telling you they don't want you for real. So after they break up, her friends want her to go to therapy because she talks about Big way too much, and she's very much against therapy. But what's interesting is that she sees a man that's really cute, and all of a sudden she wants to go back to therapy. And if we're talking about Carrie's personality, it's like, girl, you low-key male-centered. Okay, you see a cute man, now that makes you actually want to take therapy seriously and go back. So she ends up going back to therapy and seeing him again, and they end up sleeping together. And then when he reveals why he's in therapy, he's like, because I basically treat women like crap and I throw them away anytime I feel like it and I don't value them. And then she says, well, I choose the wrong men, so that's why I'm in therapy. You would think after that incident, the incident with Big, that maybe she would have an epiphany in life, that maybe she would finally grasp the concept of letting Big go and just letting him be. So after that, she does end up dating a few more men. None of them are that notable to me. Don't care. As far as her career in season 2, it's just more about her, writing her column. And I will say that I did start to notice that Carrie obviously is a very sociable person because she ends up just running into someone that she knows every episode, a random person. And of course, like when she's in the media world, she is going to have to, get to know many people. But it does show how well known of a person Carrie is. And I wish we just could have got more into Carrie as a career woman and more into her everyday life a little bit. And again, I know people are going to be like, girl, this show is literally about sex and men. Yes, it is. But I do also feel like this show was supposed to be about women empowerment also. And I just wish, and that goes with every character, because I feel like even with Miranda and Samantha, I feel like we kind of got to get to know them more on a serious career level side. Even Charlotte. But with Carrie, I would love to know more about her passion for writing, why she wanted to get into writing, why writing is just such an integrated part into her. So toward the end of the season, her, Samantha, Miranda, and Charlotte decide to go to the Hamptons. And while at the Hamptons, Charlotte meets a 20-something-year-old guy, which in return they end up going to parties with 20-something-year-old people. And she ends up meeting an assistant who basically is a virgin. She's like very young. And Carrie does meet someone on this Hamptons trip. Honestly, I don't know what the issue was as to why that didn't turn into something. I guess it was just one of those like vacation flings that, people have. While she's in the Hamptons, though, she runs into Big with his new girlfriend, Natasha, who happens to be 26. Now, I am not saying, and mind you, Big did not tell her that he was back in town. I'm not mad at Carrie for being upset with seeing Big with literally a new girlfriend, because I absolutely empathize with Carrie seeing Big with someone else. When you just broke up with him, he was just making it seem like he doesn't even want to be in a relationship in general. That's absolutely understandable, but the way Carrie went about everything again just shows how insecure and how she really does have low self-esteem. She has to. And then she even referred to herself, I believe earlier before that, as like some type of masochist when it comes to Big, because she just can't help but still love him even though he brings her such emotional pain. And then in the season finale, for some odd reason, she feels like once she was invited to their engagement party, which is just like, okay. But for some reason, she decides that she wants to go to their engagement party just to look. And then she ends up actually seeing him. And when she gives this speech that she gives, it does feel like she's beginning to understand her self-worth and understand that Big really did not understand her or even care to understand her. And it feels like, okay, again, in the season 2, this should be the end of Big. Why is he coming back to the show? Let this girl be happy, please. Just let it go, please. And they basically end up deciding to be friends with each other, and yeah. So the season starts off with her at a fireman contest where they're like judging like the most fine firemen, and then she meets someone there who is actually running for mayor. I liked this relationship in the beginning. I felt like he kind of fit the character of Carrie. Like I felt like they would be a really good fit together. I felt like I would really want to see them develop, but they ended up breaking up because he basically had like a pee fetish. and was just basically making comments about how like he really can't be running for mayor with a sex columnist while even though he has a pee fetish. So she does end up finding out that Big is married, and I do empathize with her again because Big was seeming like he just never wants to get married. So going back, I don't know how I forgot to mention this very pivotal part. When Big is back in New York after seeing him in the Hamptons, they do end up talking because she suggested that they just be friends, and then he tells her that I have something to tell you, and he proposed to Natasha. And honestly, I was low-key with Carrie because I basically had to beg you to even want to be my boyfriend, and you didn't want marriage, but now you do want marriage with someone else. I would be pissed too. I honestly would have been pissed too. But I still don't understand why she felt like they needed to be friends. Like, why? So in season 3, that is when we are introduced to Aiden. Now, Aiden first met Carrie when she was buying furniture. In the beginning of the relationship, it wasn't rocky, but it was very interesting to see because Aiden does not like smoking. And Carrie was a smoker. Also, smoking is a big part of Carrie's character. Like the first 4 seasons, Carrie is basically like a smoker. That's like a part of her, literally. She's always smoking. So Aiden doesn't like people that smoke, so she stopped smoking for him. And then also something that was different for her was that Aiden was not in a rush to sleep with her. It's interesting that Carrie didn't see that as enduring, but she kind of saw it more as a thing of like, what is wrong with me? Especially after coming off that relationship with Big. You would think that she would find it endearing, but But what was even more interesting is that she started having nightmares and breaking out into rashes because the relationship, to her, in her words, were almost too perfect. That's very interesting. Like, I really don't have like a set opinion. It's just very interesting that the thought of being in a healthy relationship gave her nightmares and made her break out. Again, it goes back to Carrie saying, am I masochist for love, basically, because, you have someone here who's everything that Big wasn't, who seems to love you in a way that Big did not. So why are you terrified of it? And then for some damn reason, Big starts to show up in her life again. He actually calls her and then shows up at her house talking about, I don't know about this marriage thing anymore and I'm just not sure. No. Are you single? No. Again, Carrie, this man is married. You should be looking at him like, damn, this is sad. Which she said in the beginning. In the beginning, she was looking at him like, damn, this is sad. They ended up seeing each other at an art gallery sale opening thing. And she was there with Aiden, and then Big was there with Natasha, and they run into each other. And then Big gets drunk and tells her that the marriage is over and all these things. And he's over here talking about if you know anyone that's interested in Carrie. Like, this man is basically treating you like a second option, like you're no one with any value. Like, you just want to go through the screen and be like, girl, like, why? It's been almost 3 years. Why? So then her and Big end up having an affair, and the affair goes on for a good minute. But then the final straw were 2 to me. The first one was when Charlotte caught them, because she had told Miranda and Samantha, but she didn't tell Charlotte yet. And Charlotte was about to get married. And Charlotte told her, girl, like, you're the other woman. Like, you should basically feel like right now, especially because I'm about to get married. How would you feel if another woman did this to me? They were at a hotel, and a guy literally thought she was a prostitute, because apparently they went there so much that he thought she was a prostitute. And then she begins to kind of rethink the whole thing and all these things. And then next thing you know, they're at his house. And again, going back to that scenario, to me, that was strike number 1. But strike number 2 and the final one was definitely when they were at his house. And Natasha comes home early and she catches Carrie. She chases her. And next thing you know, she trips, falls down the stairs and like broke her tooth and like busted her nose. That should have really been the end of Carrie and Big. That should have been the end of Carrie and Big. But it was not. So Carrie goes on like everything is normal, but she does eventually tell Aiden at Charlotte's wedding about what happened. And he does, of course, break up with her, rightfully so. Like, Girl, please. So then for the rest of the season is when we begin to see Carrie in more of her career element, or just seeing her career actually flourish in a way. Matthew McConaughey in LA is interested, I should say, in doing a film adaptation of her columns. So she goes to LA. So I don't know how I forgot to talk about this scene, but this is a very important one. So Carrie and her friends are out eating and they end up seeing Natasha, and Natasha and her friend give her the dirtiest look. And then Carrie just acts very fidgety because she's like, it makes me uncomfortable knowing that someone else in New York hates me. But it's like, you have to have some type of self-reflection to understand why she hates you. Like, why are you surprised? Yes, okay, that can be uncomfortable, but it's nothing that should be surprising to you. So Carrie literally tracks this woman down and ends up fighting her when she's about to, basically looks like on a date. And she's just trying to apologize to Natasha. And then Natasha is like, oh, well, I actually have, to say sorry to you too. And Carrie's like, wait, what do you have to say sorry to me for? And Natasha is like, I'm sorry that Big decided to marry me first. I'm sorry that I had to get surgery and now one tooth is yellower than the other one. And then she's basically like, I pretty much always knew that something was going on between you two. I just actually needed proof. And this goes back to me saying that Carrie is a very delusional person and very self-absorbed, because I'm not really sure what you expected out of that conversation. Because I think with that conversation, she just wanted Natasha to make her feel better about the decision that she made. But this woman caught you in her house with her husband. There's nothing in this world you can say. All you need to do at this point is just make peace with the situation and move on. You're trying to use her to make yourself feel better, and that's just delusional and very self-absorbed to its finest. And then toward the end of the season, again, for some reason, her and Big feel like they need to be friends. So they decide they want to hang out. And then she basically tells Carrie straight up, like, if you meet him, you're going to look needy and desperate. Like, girl, you can do so much better. Stop going back to him. Stop crying over him. And Carrie gets offended. But she does end up seeing Big. And then, Miranda apologizes to her. And I'm like, Miranda, you don't need to apologize. That's what she needed to hear. This man has shown you time and time again. This man allowed you to be a mistress to him. This man does not care for you. This man does not like you. You have low self-esteem and you are insecure and you do sound needy. So let's get into season 4. Season 4 starts out with her birthday. And it was kind of sad that none of her friends could make her actual birthday dinner, but they ended up meeting at the diner and they were just talking about life. And then Charlotte said something so endearing. She was like, what if we are each other's soulmates? Because Carrie was just basically sulking about just getting older and not having a family and not being married. And I thought it was a really sweet line that Charlotte said. And then Big comes with some balloons after her birthday. And I'm just like, okay, Big, we're still here. Carrie gets to end up being in a fashion show where they had actual models and just local celebrities or just celebrities in general in the show. And again, it showed that Carrie, career-wise, is a very accomplished person. She seems to have a very good following. A lot of prominent people know her. She knows a lot of people in the New York scene. And again, I wish we could have gotten more of that side of Carrie and getting to know Carrie in that aspect career-wise. So then her and Big are hanging out and she ends up meeting a jazz player while she's out with Big. And Big tries to insinuate that they're together and he starts basically acting jealous, which is just like, please go away out this woman's life. But she ends up dating the jazz player, but it didn't work out because he just seemed to love jazz way too much. And then she ends up seeing Aiden again. And him and Steve are basically opening up a bar. Steve invited her and Miranda. But in her mind, she's saying that, oh, Aiden was okay with it. Aiden probably suggested that I come. But then Steve said, girl, no, I actually did that. So Miranda is comfortable to come to the opening. So she does end up seeing Aiden, but it's a very dry, encounter. And she's acting surprised. Why doesn't he want to see me? And it's like, girl. And this shows a side of Carrie where it's like, are you just that delusional for real? And you have no... Are you dumb? You cheated on him with an ex that he ended up meeting. Fast forward, and they actually end up dating again. And this time was interesting because you could tell that Carrie was trying to be overly perfect just to prove to him that she's not the same person that she was. She even stopped smoking again, and just seems like she's really trying to be the perfect person for him. Which to me was not fair to her or Aiden, because I feel like their second time coming back together was kind of already doomed to fail, because I don't even feel like they ever fully talked about her cheating and why she did it. So I feel like just from the beginning they were just set up to fail. But in the few episodes after they began dating, they did seem relatively happy together. And you know, he ended up buying her apartment because I think her building got bought, and he was going to turn the next loft into something for them. Like he really he amped it up this second time around. Now, when Carrie does this next thing, I'm like, are you just a narcissist at this point? Are you just an attention seeker? Because why in the hell would you invite Big to come out to a cabin that Aiden owns where you are? Who gives a if this man is sad? Because first of all, you're trying to act normal with him by talking about dating and you couldn't even do that. You really invited the man that you cheated with to your current man's house, knowing that this man hates the man that you cheated on him with. Him and Big end up fighting, but then at the end, I guess they're cool and they're cordial now or whatever. And that just made Carrie look kind of disgusting, because why would you can't be that delusional. Like, if there's anything that Carrie proves throughout every season, that she's always going to stay delusional. Like, she's going to be delusional about something, because that decision is actually just insane. Now, her and Aiden do end up breaking up because Aiden did eventually propose to her. And even in his proposal, she kind of seemed unsure. And then she just became unsure about being in marriage, which is interesting because she damn near almost had a breakdown when Big didn't want to marry her. So basically, shit starts to hit the fan because Carrie begins to wear her ring around her neck because it's closer to her heart. And they kind of have a big blow up. And Aiden basically reveals that he mainly proposed to her to ensure that she wouldn't cheat on him ever again. And then Carrie is like, I'm not even sure if I want to get married for real. Like, why can't we just be the way we are? So they break up. And I was like, hallelujah, because this whole thing seemed forced. High key is very it's just unreasonable, I should say, to get back together with someone that you cheated with and then invite the man that you cheated on him with to his cabin. I just can't believe she really did that. So then the season goes on where Carrie cuts her hair. She now works at Vogue, which is honestly like a very cool. And again, her career was every season, her career was on the up and up. Every season she is working at Vogue now. It seems like career-wise, she's having some sense of direction. She's really trying to, on a personal level, also just find herself and to really just be okay just being with herself. So for some strange reason, her and Big are talking again, and then the season finale is basically that she finds out that Big is moving to California permanently and he wasn't even going to tell her. And she plans this whole big night out together with the hopes of having sex with him at the end. But Miranda has her baby, so the date is ended up cut short. And he doesn't even say a proper goodbye to her. She just goes to an empty apartment. He leaves her like a vinyl and plane ticket to Napa, where he was in California. So again, season 4. Why is Big still here? Now, season 5 was short because Sarah Jessica Parker was pregnant, so it was only about 8 episodes. And really this season, we just see Carrie thrive in her career. She is now having a book deal for her columns. She's working on it. She has a big party for it. Samantha is part of her PR. And since we're talking about it, as a friend, I don't know why I keep forgetting to mention stuff. But in season 4, Carrie did something that was very selfish. Basically, because Aiden had bought her apartment, she had to buy it back, but that girl was broke. So she got offended when Charlotte never offered to give her money because Charlotte had just divorced a very wealthy person. And I thought that was very selfish and very icky, because like, girl, you are grown as hell. Why you don't have your together? That's not Charlotte's fault. Now, I would never expect especially like giving me money to buy my whole apartment, not just to pay the rent for the month or a light bill, to buy my whole apartment. Girl, you're selfish as hell to expect your friends to pay for that. And yes, it's very nice that Miranda and Samantha offered, but like, you should never expect your friends to pay for a whole apartment. Season 5, she has the book deal. She's working on it. She's working with her friends. And going back to Friends with season 5, she basically was very judgmental towards Samantha when she walked in on Samantha giving some stimulation to someone underground. She judged her for it. And I will say, do I ever want to walk into my Friendsgiving stimulation underground? No. But I can see, I don't know, because Carrie has known Samantha for years and you know that's who Samantha is. So why are you now acting crazy because she has a very active sex life? Like, I understand not wanting to see it and kind of feeling disrespected in that aspect because, like, you knew I was coming, you over here giving stimulation underground. But it's like, to be judgmental in that area was kind of like, I understood Samantha's point. So I could play devil's advocate in that scenario. But she did, watch Brady sometime, Miranda's son. So she was relatively okay season 5. But yeah, season 5, that's when we're also introduced to Jack Berger, who I despise, and that's saying a lot because I despise Big the most. That's where we're introduced to him. He's a fellow author himself. And then she sees Big again because she has to go to Napa to promote her book. And while there, of course, she wants to have sex with him, but he reveals that he read the book and he starts to feel guilt and accountability. And the way she responded was very interesting. I don't feel either way about it. But it was interesting because I'm like, if I was in her shoes and a man who has caused me so much emotional pain is now starting to finally take ownership for and actually have some accountability, I would be excited for that. But it kind of just felt like she was just more eager to have sex. So that was just a very interesting plot line. But they did end up doing it the next day. But again, Big should have been going at this point. And the end of the season is basically just her and Berger coming together because when they first met, he did have a girlfriend, but now he's single at the end of the season. And yeah, on to season 6. Now, season 6 starts off with her and Berger just starting off. Now, season 6 starts off with Carrie and Berger dating, and for some reason, she is still in contact with Big. And they're having phone sex. But then she stops it because her and Berger officially get together. And I hated her relationship with Berger because with this relationship, we saw how Carrie has a tendency again to almost go above and beyond to make a guy feel comfortable in her life and to not lose his person, even though they're showing red flags. Because we began to see that Jack is a very insecure ass person, and that would turn into kind of like anger that he would take out on her with words. And they basically ended up breaking up because he ended up being booted from his publishing deal, and Carrie was thriving in her career and he just could not take it. And they went to like a red carpet one time and people didn't know who he was, and they were mainly asking for Carrie's picture, and he just ended up leaving her there. And I was very happy when they broke up, but the way he did it was very up because he just left it on a sticky note, and it's just like, man, please. But she ends up seeing his friends and she just kind of goes over there to talk about him for some reason. Like, why do you feel the need to go talk to his friends about why y'all broke up? That's none of their business. They probably don't even care. And and they didn't know about the breakup, but they were just acting like, I mean, what do you want us to do about it? And as far as her career, she really is thriving. Like, her book is selling out in multiple cities. Like, she had got a check from like another foreign country. I forgot which one. But, she really was thriving with her career in season 6 for sure. And again, Berger was a thing of the past. I hated that relationship. I hated how he treated her because it wasn't together. Like, that had nothing to do with you. But I did hate how it felt like she was again losing herself trying to make sure that Berger was comfortable. And she does end up running into Aiden, and he has a baby now and he is married, and that was just kind of like a simple interaction. There's nothing really to like look too deep into. They did say at the end like, oh, we should catch up sometimes, but then even she was like, we know that's never going to happen, as it shouldn't. And she also does explore the themes of just not having a child for a woman her age because she went to a party for her friends and her shoes ended up getting stolen. And her friend was just basically saying like, I have kids now. Like, I really don't care that you lost like your fancy little shoes. But I would have been mad too. They're like $400 shoes and I left them at your house and someone lost them. But that was, something that she explored because I don't really think they talked about that a lot with Carrie about her wanting kids ever. But she basically explored that she would be okay with not having kids, and it's not something that she necessarily desires the most. Now, Big comes back to New York because he needs heart surgery. When she first saw him, she was anticipating sex because she wasn't seeing anyone, but he did need heart surgery and she looked after him. And while looking after him, he almost has like an epiphany, and finally, after damn near 5 years, sees like the value in her and sees her as a person and sees how wonderful of a person she is, I guess. And And then the next day when he wakes up, he just acts cold as shit. But she seems unfazed by it. It's almost as if at this point she's just very numb to the that he presents to her. Okay, so another thing I forgot to mention was this season is also when Carrie runs into someone that Aiden dated right after her, and when she first meets her and realizes who she is, like she makes a face basically to Carrie, and even when she saw her again, she's like, oh my god, hey Carrie, and she's with a friend. And when the friend is like, oh, how do you know Carrie? Because that friend knew Carrie before she knew Aiden's ex, she like basically tells her, oh, I'll tell you later. And I can rightfully understand why Carrie is kind of taken aback, because it's like, one, when you found out that was Aiden's ex, you made a face, and then two, you basically were already in my face talking about, oh, okay, I'm going to tell you basically the details later to the friend. So I absolutely understand why Carrie felt away, but like I wouldn't again go out my way to try to seek out where this woman is to explain myself, because again, yes, I understand that this is someone who knows that you did do Aiden dirty, but going out to seek this woman to explain yourself is just overkill to me, and that's not something that you have to do. Just learn from it and move on. And then we are introduced into Alexander Petrovsky, and I hope I am saying his last name right. But we are introduced to Alexander Petrovsky, and he is older. He owns an art gallery. He's basically a very famous artist, and I believe he is from Paris. Yes. I know he's not from Paris. I'm dumb as hell. He's Russian. He is Russian. She meets him while she's basically at an art gallery with Charlotte. And I actually liked their relationship. I thought it was a very sweet, nice relationship. It seemed like he was very interested in her and getting to know Carrie. He seemed very invested in her. So it was very just sweet looking at the relationship. They just looked at a lot of things very differently, but they would communicate about it and then get over it by the end of the episode. Especially because I remember when they found out that Samantha had breast cancer, he basically was very blunt with her, telling her, you know, my friend died. Like, and then she was kind of upset because she's like, well, my friend isn't going to die, so why are you telling me about that? And then she kind of got mad about it, but then they ended up talking about it, and he was just basically saying that, you know, I was hurt so bad when my friend died, and I felt so blindsided by it that I wanted you to feel prepared and not feel blindsided by it. Now, problems do start to occur when he decides that he wants to move back to Paris, and he invites Carrie to move with him to Paris. And obviously her friends are sad to go, but Miranda is just very much feeling sketchy about it, because in her mind, she's like, why do you have to give up your life to go with someone else to Paris? Oh, also, geez, I'm just always forgetting stuff. Also, Carrie finds out that he has a child, but he does not want any more children. And then she begins to contemplate a little bit, like, damn, do I want kids, or do I at least want the option to have kids? And I'm with someone who doesn't want any more kids at all. So going back, Miranda is telling her, like, look, I just feel like you're going for him. You're just doing what he wants. And then Carrie just kind of, you know, has a moment where she's like, I can either stay here in New York and watch you guys move on with your lives, with your partners and your families, or I can go to Paris with a man that I really love and start living my life. And it's interesting that Carrie saw her friends being happy with having families, that she basically admitted that seeing her friends moving on with life by basically getting married and having families was making her feel lonely and almost making her feel like she's a loser in life. Like she's not in a position in life that she feels like she should be. And her giving that just showed that at the end of the day, I feel like Carrie just never wants to be alone, and she really wants love, and she wants a lot of fulfillment in life. So that scene was very interesting. So she does decide to move to Paris, and Big just gets an epiphany all of a sudden that he does love Carrie, and then comes back to New York, and he's calling, but she's not answering, you know, his calls or his texts. And then he ends up blindsiding her while she's about to have her last night out with her friends. And then he's over here talking about, you know, I've realized like after 5 years that I love you. And then she rightfully went off on him and was like, I have given you 5 years to love me right, and you always just seem to smell when I'm happy and come back and try to up, like, leave me alone. And again, that should have been the end of Big and Carrie, like, because she was right. It took you 5 years to finally understand that you love me. So she does end up moving to Paris, but it's not like she thought it was going to be. She ends up being very lonely because Alexander is he's always doing business or just always hanging out with friends that she really doesn't relate to. And she doesn't know the language. She just feels like very much an outsider. And that was kind of sad to see. And the final straw was when she actually met people who are very big fans of her book. And they were going to throw her a big party. But then Alexander said, oh, why don't you actually come with me to like this gallery thing? But at the gallery thing, he's not really interacting with her. He's not talking to her. So she decides to see if she can make her book opening party. And they were all gone by then. And then in her mind, she was just like, why am I here? I have no sense of self-identity here. I'm not really with you. I don't know the language. This just is not going to work. Back in New York, her friends are basically telling Big, yeah, you were kind of crappy to her, but like, we can see that you love her now. So go get her back. So Big ends up showing up to Paris. They end up being together and Carrie moves back to New York and her and Big are in gang. Her career is thriving though. So when it comes to Carrie as far as the show, I have concluded Carrie is a very low self-esteem, insecure person who just wants to be loved. That's how I looked at Carrie at the end of the series. After watching it 4 times, Carrie just really wants to be loved. And how can you fault her for that? However, you can't fault her for making very dumb, reckless decisions. Why did you have an affair with Big? Why did you keep going back to Big when he showed you over and over and over again this man does not value you as a person, because no man that loves you will allow you to be their mistress. And it's just, okay. I just realized she's a very complex person who really just wanted to be loved. Like, truly, at the end of it all. At the end of it all. And when you go into the movies and you see in the first movie how Big had cold feet at their wedding, did not show up, but then decided, oh wait, I actually do want to marry her, embarrassed her. Even the fact that they got back together in that instance, it was like, Carrie, you cannot keep giving this man, it's like, what is it? Like, what is it? What is it? Like, is it some type of child? Because she never went into her childhood in the show. So I can't give an explanation as to why, like, she just kept giving Big chances. Even in the second movie, when Big started liking the idea of them, because she went to her apartment to just work on things for like a few days, but she never made it into a concrete thing. And then all of a sudden he was like, well, I actually kind of like that that we just are apart for a few days and then we come back together. And then it's like, he's a crappy person. They had to fight through it. And then all of a sudden at the end, he gets it. And it's like, why would anyone want to be a part of an emotional roller coaster with a grown ass, old ass man? Why? And even in that first movie, she damn near just like shut herself out from the world after he basically broke her heart at that wedding, having cold feet. And the fact that they ended up still getting married is actually that. I've said that should have been the end of Carrie and Big so many times, but after that first movie, that really should have been the end of Carrie and Big. I really can't wrap my mind around continuously giving this man a chance when he has shown you time and 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 time again that he does not like you the way you like him. And he looks at you as someone that's very disposable in his life. And why would you want to feel disposable in someone's life? So again, I sympathize with Carrie, but also you just want to slap the shit out of her sometime because you're just like, snap out of it. You're such an accomplished woman. You could probably have any man in this world you want to. You're fashionable. You're beautiful. Like, why, bitch? And I didn't see this new revival of Sex and the City, and I tried watching the first 2 episodes, but I realized that this isn't for me. But what I do know, just what I've seen on Twitter, it seems like Carrie is basically the same old person, and then her and Aiden ended up being back together, but then Aiden turned out to be the most crappy person this time around. So yes, we can shit on Carrie all day long if we wanted to. And she is a shitty person, low-key. And when it comes to even her friends, again, I really do feel like she listens just to listen and listens to not understand. I absolutely think she has done great things for her friends, but I feel like sometimes she just can be very, it's the word, so self-indulgent. Because it's not selfish, but she's just self-absorbed. That's the word. Self-absorbed. She can be self-absorbed sometimes, but it's almost like she also reels herself back in, but then you also lose her because she does it again. It's like a pattern sometimes. And it's like, you gotta stop, girl. Like, why are you mad because Charlotte won't give you money? You're grown as. And Charlotte said, girl, you're a grown woman. You want me to pay to buy your whole apartment? Not even rent, not a water bill, my whole apartment. It's just like, okay. Okay, Carrie. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I would love to see what you guys think of the character Carrie Bradshaw in the comments. Remember to keep it cute, fab, and fun. And I will see you guys in the next video.